Hi, ladies and gents. How are you? Thank you very much for tuning in to this live stream where I'm just going to be doing audio today. Vanity of vanities. I'm not liking the way my hair is. So anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. I've just sent out another edition of my Substack newsletter, which you can go to at nationfirst.substack.com, nationfirst.substack.com. I'd encourage each and every one of you listening, go over there and subscribe so you get this content first. But this is my take on the three reasons that the Liberals lost the election, why the Morrison government was consigned to the dustbin of history. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's not climate change. That was not the reason. Now, again, before I get into this, from the 6th of June, you will receive daily news and analysis if you go over to nationfirst.substack.com and take out a paid subscription to Nation First. With your support, I'll eventually have the ability to employ a team to do more research and investigative work. But at the moment, it's just me and my laptop. That's about all I need to defend freedom. So get over there and you can help defend freedom by taking out a paid subscription at nationfirst.substack.com. It's only $9.90 a month or a 15% discount of $99 a year. And you'll get to hear from me daily on the latest news and events in Australia and right around the world. Now, there's lots of analysis as to why the Liberals lost the federal election. The Green Movement claims it was due to a lack of action on their fake fear campaign of catastrophic man-made climate change. The World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders Forum alumni and Liberal Senator Andrew Bragg has reckoned it was because the Liberal Party engaged in too much culture wars. And former Nationals leader Michael McCormick thinks it was because of Barnaby Joyce. Well, they're all wrong. The answer is that the Liberals abandoned their key values. Now, would you believe the Liberal Party's official belief statement tells us that the Liberal Party believes in one, the inalienable rights and freedoms of all peoples, and we work towards a lean government that minimises interference in our daily lives and maximises individual and private sector initiative. Two, in government that nurtures and encourages its citizens through incentive rather than putting limits on people through the punishing disincentives of burdensome taxes and the stifling structures of Labor's corporate state and bureaucratic red tape. And three, in the most basic freedoms of parliamentary democracy, the freedom of thought, worship, speech, and association. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the past 2 years showed that that belief statement of the Federal Liberal Party was a lie. We only have to look at three key issues as proof points of that lie. One is the vaccine mandates. Now, the Liberals not only did nothing to stop vaccine mandates, vaccine passports, and associated discrimination that was being implemented by the state governments, but the Federal Liberal Party in government actually enabled it. In the lead up to the rollout of the COVID shots, the Liberals made it compulsory for immunisations to be registered to the Australian Immunisation Register. Now, without that compulsory registration of immunisations, state governments and everyone else would have been blind as to who had a COVID jab and who didn't. So that's number one. Number two, the digital identity agenda. Now, I cannot believe, but it was the Liberals who drafted laws to implement a digital identity system in Australia. They did it. I've seen it. This would have resulted in an invasion of our privacy like we've never seen before, like we've never ever seen before in this country. I mean, we railed against this in Queensland in the 80s, or at least the Bjelke-Petersen government did when the Labor government was planning to put in an Australia card. Well, this was the Australia card on steroids. And I've got to tell you, it could have paved the way for a programmable digital currency and a social credit system. Now, if you want to hear more on that, go, or read more on that rather, go over to georgechristensen.com.au/digital, and you can read a lot more about this scary digital identity agenda. And the third reason that the Liberals lost the election was green socialism. And they were wanting to put in a target of net zero emissions by 2050. And this was after years of opposing green socialist nonsense. Now, this net zero plan would have resulted, it will result, because Labor are going to do it, it will result in widespread job losses in mining, manufacturing, and the transport industries. That'll probably in turn necessitate, with such widespread unemployment, a socialistic style universal basic income system where we're all going to be getting welfare and not working. Sort of like the Great Reset stuff. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. You won't have a job and you'll be happy. Well, the net zero emissions is also going to bring about greater control of the populace through new laws that are going to be put on us and on business and industry. There's going to be greater taxation because you're going to have to pay more for fixing this so-called problem. There's also going to be rising cost of living issues. Your power bill is going to go up. But I tell you what, at the same time, there's going to be mega profits for multinational corporations who will have their snouts firmly in the trough of subsidised renewables and mandated carbon trading. You can bet your bottom dollar. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there are many other issues that showed that the Liberals betrayed their values. There was the lack of any real meaningful action on religious freedom in this country. We don't have religious freedom, quite frankly. Look up the story of Archbishop Julian Porteous, who was nearly hauled before the Anti-Discrimination Tribunal because he spoke about the Catholic Church's teaching on marriage to Catholic school students. There's the Liberal Party's support for a pandemic treaty. I mean, that was there in the middle of the election campaign for all to see. And then there was a lack of action on big tech censorship. But do you believe it wasn't only just lack of action on big tech censorship? There were moves afoot that were announced again in the lead up to the election campaign to have government force big tech to censor us even more. They were going to have a government unit, I believe it was the Australian Media and Communications Authority or Communications and Media Authority, that was going to oversee big tech, and if they're on their platforms was quote unquote disinformation. I mean, that's something that's always in the eye of the beholder. We see that from fact checkers these days, that they would have fined big tech until they removed that stuff from their platforms. Now, that's just censorship being pushed by the government. So this is a worse plan than even Joe Biden's disinformation unit, because it's actually censoring people, this one. Now, look, this is all what the Liberal Party wanted to do. You wonder why they're out of power. Well, the bad news is that none of it is going to get any better under a socialist Labor Greens government. In fact, it's probably only going to get worse. Look, in the past day, Australia's e-Safety Commissioner told the World Economic Forum that online free speech will have to be recalibrated. Isn't that a nice word? Recalibrated. This is only going to get worse. This is only the beginning. And you've got to arm yourself with some valuable information. And that's why I'm saying be armed with that valuable information in this coming struggle for freedom. You're going to have to do it. Get over to nationfirst.substack.com, where I'm going to be arming you with that information that you need. God bless all of you, your families, and your friends. Thank you very much, and stay safe. Authorised by George Christensen, Mackay.